Hello, welcome back again to the Proverbs challenge, and today we are in chapter 26. Wow, what a journey it has been. Beautiful to study the word of God, beautiful to just dig deep into the word and see what the Lord is saying to us. And today we are in chapter 26, and while I was reading chapter 26, I realized Solomon covered three groups of people that he describes heavily in his language he uses, paints a picture of who they are, and is basically telling us to avoid this kind of people or how to deal with them. Number one, the fool. He describes foolishness or how fools behave and how they need to be handled. And then he also describes the lazy man, how the lazy man just keeps standing on his bed. And then also the talebearer, the person who goes about telling stories, telling lies about people, or basically gossiping about others. Those, for me, stand out in this chapter 26. And he's using heavy language to describe the fool, I think, to give us a picture of how to avoid being this fool he describes. And also, if you find yourself in the company of a fool, how to treat them, how to talk to them, how to address them, and how to not make them feel like they are wise when they think they are wise. We shall see how he does that in verse 4 and verse 5. But just to start off, in verse 1, he paints a picture for us of how honor is not appropriate for a fool. He says, as snow in summer and rain in harvest, so honor is not fitting for a fool. Imagine at the time of the harvest when you need the sun to be shining and it starts to rain. As a farmer, you'll be like, what's up? You want the rain to come at the appropriate time when you have planted and you need it for the crops to germinate. But when it starts to rain at harvest, it's not appropriate. So he says honor is not fitting for a fool, just like rain is not fitting in harvest. In verse 2, he talks about how a curse causeless shall not alight, just like a fleeting sparrow or a flying bird, just like a fleeting sparrow, like a flying swallow, so a curse causeless shall not alight. If you throw words carelessly to someone, trying to curse them without cause, they shall not land on them. The person has the power to reject them, but even if they didn't hear them, they will not land. In verse 3, he talks about how to deal with a fool. Just like he says, a whip is for the horse, a bridle for the donkey, so the road is for the fool. The fool always gets beaten. Sometimes you may not be beaten by the cane, the physical cane, but certain things happen that equate to the rod in certain ways. You just have to know when it is you being a fool and you're being disciplined, or it's just the temptations of life and trials that the Bible talks about. Then in verse 4, this one I read it and I was amazed at how he says, do not answer a fool according to his folly, lest you also be like him. But then he also says, answer a fool according to his folly, lest he be wise in his own eyes. And this reminded me when we were growing up and your mom would send you for something, then you come back with it, like say they send you for a flat iron, you come back with it, and then you ask, here it is, where do I put it? And she says, put it on my head. And if you're a fool, you put it on her head. I've seen a video someone did. These videos people do just for fun on social media. Parents sent a child for something, and the child brings it and the mother says, okay, put it on my head. And the child also goes ahead and puts it on her head. You know how the video ended. The child was beaten. That shows you that a rod is for a fool, So he says, do not answer a fool according to his folly. So you need to be discerning and know, should I answer this one now or I should leave them? So you ask God for wisdom, when to answer and when not to answer. He also tells us in verse 6, he who sends a message by the hand of a fool cuts off his own feet and drinks violence. That is very graphic. Like, how do you cut off your feet and you drink violence? Because you have sent a fool. So you have to know the people around you. Is this person wise enough, Or are they falling in the category that Solomon keeps talking about here, the fool? So that you help yourself and not assign them, even in the office, the tasks that are crucial. There are people you should not give them to, because their behavior, in the way they carry themselves, the way they complain, the way they, deal with the tasks, you know whether you're dealing with a fool in the office or somebody who can actually deliver. Going to verse 11. He says, as a dog returns to his own vomit, so a fool repeats his own folly. I've heard this before, but people actually do these things. People end up in the same stupidity, in the same foolishness, maybe because they've not learned, maybe because they have not decided to be better people. But he's painting a picture here and saying, as a dog returns to its own vomit, so yuck, so does a fool return to his folly. If only we can be wise and just learn from these. They sound like easy things to do, but sometimes they are hard to actually understand and say, I cannot go back in that same place if this is how it ended, in tears, and it made the situation look bad or the person to be a fool. So we need to avoid that kind of foolishness, display of foolishness. Then in verse 13, he starts talking about the lazy man. He says, the lazy man says, there's a lion in the road. A fierce lion is in the street. As the door turns on its hinges, so does the lazy man on his bed. The lazy man buries his hand in the bowl and wearies him to bring it back to his mouth. The lazy man is wiser in his own eyes than 7 men who can answer sensibly. Basically, he's giving a description of how laziness is manifested in people, how they give excuses, why things cannot be done. This chapter, it's just heavy on describing the fools and also telling us about laziness. So, in a nutshell, what to avoid in order not to be a fool, or how to handle fools, but also why we should not be lazy and why we should be diligent in our work and be able to go out there and be productive. So, 26 is what we covered today. Let me just read one more verse before we close. He says in 27, whoever digs a pit will fall into it, and he who rolls a stone will have it rolled back on him. There are consequences for every action taken. If you dig a pit, you'll definitely fall in it. You know how you can think you're digging it just randomly and maybe trying to trap another person, but you find that you are the person who has fallen in it. Whatever you do, there are consequences that will end you up in that same trouble that you're probably digging for another person. So it's calling us to wisdom, it's calling us to discernment, it's calling us to be wise and to equip ourselves with the word of God so that we can be the people that God created us to be, to live according to his purpose. Thank you for joining me on this Proverbs challenge. Please read the chapter, study it, and share in the comment section what God is speaking to you concerning these scriptures in Proverbs chapter 26. Tomorrow we meet and we are talking about Proverbs chapter 27. Have a beautiful day and enjoy your weekend. Bye for now.